From weird and unsettling moments to write down criminal acts caught on livestream. In this video, I'll cover an iceberg that I made about disturbing livestream incidents. This iceberg will start right on tier 2, since tier 1 would be boring. As always, thank you to our Patreon support Pawn, and I'm Sir Chris. I explore the internet and I make videos about it. Let's go. Stalkers. With thousands of people watching live streams, there will always be bad apples. Trolls, viewers who develop extreme parasocial interactions, and the worst of them all, stalkers. One of the craziest cases of stalking that I've seen happened to one of the most well-known streamers on Twitch, Amaranth, a streamer known for her content on OnlyFans, Kick, and Twitch that gathered a total of 6 million followers to this day. With a large amount of fame, it will be a matter of time for a crazy stalker to appear. On the afternoon of June 7th of 2022, Amaranth posted several tweets that worried her fans. I have a stalker who has been in my area since May 8th. He traveled all the way from Estonia to my city, living in a nearby hotel. That same stalker had sold every possession that he owned in Estonia to fly himself all the way to America to try to find and marry Amaranth. He would even go live on Twitch in nearby locations searching for her. While he was searching, Amaranth would keep an eye out for him because slowly and surely, it was getting closer and closer. It would also name the stream titles in a creepy way, such as Find Caitlyn and Make Her Mine. The horror was streamed for a total of 44 days and 33 minutes. But things would only get worse. On the 13th of June, he would walk the last mile to her house and would stream himself trying to break into the house, but thankfully to no avail. While it was happening, the police were called, but it took them 33 minutes to arrive, but on that same night, the stalker was detained. Even though this happened in 2022, this will not be the last time, because in 2023, he came back and tried to break in again, and even followed a member of her staff, in which the staff simply closed the door on his face, which that made him come back 4 hours later, but now to leave a box and a key, that we don't know if she opened it or not. And with the CCTV footage, thankfully that creep got arrested. Another example of a creepy stalker caught live was on Ginny TTY's stream. Ginny is a Korean streamer known for doing in real life streams. In a series of live streams, she decides to walk around the edges of Taiwan. In the middle of one of these streams, she ends up finding a man wearing dark clothes and a mask, walking closer to her several times. At first, she didn't think it was a big deal, but after a while, it became obvious. If she stopped, he stopped. If she retreats, he retreats. This happened for 4 hours, until fortunately, one of the viewers called the police, and the police officer appeared and he confronted the man. The streamer took advantage of what was happening and told the officer what he had done, and that man eventually was detained off camera. Updates say that the same stalker apparently had mental issues and was sent to the hospital. Rubzy's haunting. This case is kinda old. Rubzy was a YouTuber and a streamer known for his personality. In a specific livestream, he ended up taking care of his friend's cat since he wasn't home. In that same livestream, while he was chatting, one of the doors slowly opens, only to be violently closed seconds later, and the light in the hallway turned on. Scared, he checks the hallway where he sees nothing, and turns off the light. Later on the stream, he joins a Discord call but constantly keeps an eye on the hallway. Who wouldn't, right? After a few more incidents, the last straw was when the chair moved on its own, in which he simply left. But this wouldn't be the last time he met the supposed ghost. In a 24-hour livestream for charity, he ended up staying on that same apartment again, but this time the ghost was more aggressive. The door, the bin, and even everything on the table being knocked out. Some say it's fake, some say that it isn't, but what do you think? Text-to-speech. Text-to-speech is a system where a viewer, when donating, can write a message that will be read out loud, and there are even streams that allow you to add sounds to accompany the messages. It can be funny, and it can also be the opposite, threatening. Arab Andy was a Twitch streamer who grew because of his in-real-life content that was intended to be provocative, which added it was successful. It would go around public places with a speaker on his backpack, in which fans would donate $5 to say and play offensive messages, and resulted in him getting in trouble a lot of times. But all of this brings us to the last straw, the livestream on May 31st of 2018. In the livestream, Handy ends up entering the University of Washington and walks into the library where everyone was. Seconds later, Handy receives a donation that asks for their attention and doesn't say anything else, which makes them laugh, but the laughter quickly disappears as the donation says that the C4 has been activated and that it will detonate within seconds. which caused panic and made everyone in the room run out and activate the alarm. After walking slowly for a total of 12 minutes, he obviously got arrested. As a result, he received a fine of $75,000 and he could not post any more videos for being a threat to society. And to this day, it is still unknown how much his sentence was. Hacked live. What if your progress and everything that you built for years was simply snatched from you in just a few hours? Sadly, channels and streams getting hacked is not uncommon, to the point that some channels end up being hacked even while they're live, or simply the hacker obtains the transmission key that allows you to stream on a specific channel. Of several channels, one of the channels that was recently hacked was Low Tier God. Low Tier God is a Twitch streamer known for playing fighting games and for getting mad easily, but that is only the tip of the iceberg. On November 19th of this year, Low Tier God ended up starting a stream. For those who were preparing for another stream, they weren't expecting what was to come. After a few minutes of music, the same livestream starts showing several clips of his old YouTube live streams, which led to him being permanently banned from Twitch. While a lot of viewers were celebrating, in reality, the ban only lasted for 2 hours, since it was eventually removed. Despite several conspiracies about who hacked his channel, until now, we don't have an answer. Pipepunk. Imagine watching a YouTuber that made your childhood have a panic attack live. Pipepunk is a Mexican YouTuber and streamer known for making several videos on YouTube. Nowadays, he has focused more on streams on Twitch, but behind the cameras, he was struggling with depression, which was even the topic of 2 videos. In the summary of the 2019 video, I'm going to be admitted to a psychiatric clinic, he confirms that he was diagnosed with major depression and thoughts of death, which is why he had to pause the channel temporarily to focus on recovering. He says that the cause of his depression comes from his childhood, where he didn't socialize and spent most of his time playing video games, and that made him not live life. Isolation and exhaustion from pushing himself to entertain his public while being depressed was taking a big toll on himself. But around April 16th of 2021, in a livestream on Twitch, he begins to talk to the chat about some personal matters, such as the fact that the clinic had temporarily helped him, but recently he's been feeling down. From that moment on, he starts to become visually more anxious, constantly shaking his leg, trembling, and even tearing up. And while his chat was trying to cheer him up, he has a panic attack. I'm not going to show this part of the clip out of respect, but it gets bad. He falls off the chair, starts punching the floor, and even his mother came into the room to help her son. She even tries to turn off the stream or to not show her son in that state several times, which is so heartbreaking, man. And this reflects that it is also necessary to know when to give yourself a break. The Hold tape. Imagine this. You're a New Yorker in the 90s. It's already night, and you're just chilling in your room, listening to some music on the radio in your boombox. Luck is on your side. Some music that you liked passed on that same broadcast. So, you hit the record on the integrated tape recorder to hear it later. But just a few seconds in, you've just recorded a creepy hijacking live. That terrifying memory eventually drowns in your brain, and you forget. Until 16 years later. A user on 4chan made the following post. Around 1995, I was about 15. I'd dial through the stations, and when I heard something interesting, I'd hit record for a while. One night, I came across this. In the middle of the broadcast, the hijacker starts saying the names of several people who have already lost their lives, and even some of them being people who have died in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Many people think this hijacking is fake because of how clean the audio is, but as there has not yet been any video debunking this hijacking, this remains an unsolved mystery for now. Womp Womp. When does one consider a prank way too far? Some say it's when the other person gets uncomfortable, but the same cannot be said for this streamer. Lil Mixie is another kick streamer who makes various types of content, one of the categories being in real life. And he is known for a quote-unquote recent stream that sparked controversy. On June 30th of 2024, Mixie ends up streaming himself with some friends inside a shopping center, in which he asked several people what their most traumatic moment was. To which, when they responded, he just said womp womp and clapped with the intention of being disrespectful. I don't need to tell you that this ended up badly. One of the people who eventually appeared in a TikTok clip was the girlfriend of another YouTuber, Goop Videos, who was not with her at the time. Later, in that same stream, Mixie ended up asking the same question to Goop, who was looking for them. And that's where the viral clip took place.
What's my most traumatic experience? I don't know, but I know what yours is.
After this incident, Goop ends up making a YouTube video explaining why he did that. He claims that his girlfriend, Crystal, has suffered physical and psychological abuse from several family members over the years, and he rightfully wouldn't let that slide, and thus he punches the phone in the cameraman's hand. Ray gets attacked. Reydempto? Whatever, I'll just call him Ray. Ray is another Twitch streamer who only focuses on in-real-life content in Amsterdam. He has already faced his fair share of crazy people on stream, like the time he encountered a drunk woman who only spoke about his skin color, and even when a stranger threatened to kill him for filming in a park. But nothing could have prepared him for this specific encounter. On the night of February 13th of 2022, Ray would go live again in Amsterdam. He said on the stream that he felt safe because where he was streaming had a police station nearby. While walking, he starts to make a joke to the stream until a drunk stranger ends up appearing, and he also ends up joining him on his joke. But things would quickly take a turn for the worse. The stranger ends up threatening to kill and chokes him until he is unconscious. It is still unknown if the stream continued because there is no VOD. But after the encounter, Ray ended up confirming that he was fine and made it home after recovering his conscience. Home invasion. What if you witness your favorite streamer getting robbed in their own house? Nikki Ellis, or better known as Adin, is another gaming and hot streamer on Twitch who lived in Arizona. Around June 9th of 2014, in one of her live streams she was playing Dota 2 at 1:30 AM with some friends. 3 hours and 30 minutes into the stream, loud noises can be heard in the background. Seconds later, one of the 2 armed robbers appeared passing by the camera and stealing several belongings and even weapons. Stated by Adin, the robber's intention was to take them to a bank and force her boyfriend to withdraw the money while Adin remained hostage. But thankfully that day, streaming saved 2 lives. Because while they were being robbed, one of the viewers from Europe called one of Adin's acquaintances, and that person later called the police. The police arrived in time to catch one of the 2 robbers who was still in the apartment, Edgardo Martinez. But more information about this incident is very scarce since it happened a long time ago. But even after that, they both were unarmed. But one of the most recent cases of home invasion caught live happened to a VTuber that goes by the name Camilla. Camilla was streaming on Twitch on November 1st of 2024, when 1 hour and 20 minutes into the stream, a loud noise interrupts Camilla, who mutes herself and goes to check out what happened. After a few minutes of silence, she puts a text on the screen saying that someone, who later was identified as a stalker, tried to break into her house with a sledgehammer, and the stream ends. A few days pass, and Camilla goes live in a different house to explain what happened that night. And if things couldn't get any worse, her phone randomly begins to say her location out loud, which she muffles it with screams. That stalker later that night got arrested by police, and he admitted to having put a tracking device on a gift that he gave to her at a fan meeting, which one day prior to the break-in, the stalker came to her house, knocked on the window, and ran. At the time, Camilla didn't think much of it, and assumed he would have been a kid, until the night of the incident. While talking to the police officers that came after she pressed the panic button that she had on her desk, everything began to make sense. Sadly, with this incident, Camilla will not be able to accept any gifts after that, and she doesn't feel safe anymore in her house that she built from the ground up. But thankfully nobody got hurt. Poseidon. Poseidon is a streamer and a YouTuber that doesn't need much introduction. He began his career as a gaming streamer, but eventually moved out to in real-life streams. Ice is known for the various incidents that happen on his streams, such as the crazy amount of times that he got stream sniped in real life by his followers, the amount of times that he got swatted, and even the time that he got arrested live, allegedly due to But as low tier god, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ice would also be remembered as a streamer who almost streamed the live. On March 3rd of 2017, Poseidon was doing another in real life livestream, where he and his friend eventually find a crowd of people who were looking at a man in the window. At first, he thinks it was just a prank, but when they realize it wasn't, they also got worried and moved away so as to not catch anything. But as they move away, screams can be heard as the man jumps, in which Ice quickly covers part of the camera. Moments after this, the 2 streamers were visibly shaken up. AngelWalks. AngelWalks was a disabled US Army veteran who creates content on various platforms. On the afternoon of July 27th of 2020, He was streaming a Call of Duty Warzone tournament. In the middle of the tournament, you can hear his family screaming as they violently bang on a door, in which Angel quickly leaves to see what was happening, only to return seconds later to say that his brother had died and that he had to leave. This clip is easily one of the toughest things I've heard. With this tragic moment, Angel ends up making a post on Twitter. I was in the middle of the gauntlet when my family came to my door panicking, yelling that my brother was cold and not moving. I've already lost so much, I don't know how to move forward. He would eventually ask the internet for help since the funeral expenses were expensive, to the point that he had to sell his setup to help pay for it. Thankfully, his GoFundMe was able to fund $20,000. In his documentary, Angel tells more about the behind the scenes. Reydempto, his brother, struggled with mental health and depression, and that struggle was fueled by the fact that his wife left him after a miscarriage, which sadly led to him taking his own life. It is still unknown what way he died, and to be honest, we don't even need to know, and thankfully, he seems to be doing much better. Daasuke. Daasuke is a Japanese streamer from an unknown streaming platform, but he's known for one of his disturbing clips. In a livestream, Daasuke stops playing Minecraft to show his viewers things that he had bought, one of them being an oil lighter. When he saw the lighter, he noticed that he had an iron which could be used as a match. Daasuke, for some reason, decides to fill the lighter, but he ends up overfilling it, causing it to overflow, and getting it dirty with lighter fuel. And here is where he makes a lot of horrible decisions. With what happened previously, he ends up cleaning the lighter with a tissue. Then, he rubs the piece of iron on the stone, which causes the lighter to catch fire. Daasuke quickly puts out the fire, but eventually puts the steel which had the tip slightly on fire in the plastic of used tissues on his side, which in just seconds starts to catch on fire without him noticing. The chat repeats behind you several times, which makes him pick the plastic bag that melts and falls to the edge of the closet. And then, Daasuke decides to beat the fire with the cardboard. After more failed attempts, the fire gets bigger and bigger, and part of the house ends up catching fire, and the stream ends with the fire reaching the computer. Adin R. Adin R is a YouTuber/streamer who needs no introduction. He is known for his content and also for the various controversies surrounding his streams. From streams with several known faces, be it rappers, the president, or even Andrew Tate. But there was a time when Adin, on his streams, used to pay his fans to do disgusting or dangerous things. There was one where Adin even paid $20,000 for a fan to have pepper spray sprayed in his eyes, shave his hair, and drink hot sauce. He even paid around $10,000 to have his fan throw milk at his sister and hit the wall with a baseball bat, paid another fan to break his parents' television, you understood. Even recently, there was a fan who got on the news for throwing his car into a lake, after allegedly being promised $8,000 by the streamer. Even if it was life-changing money, this is slightly unnerving what his fans are willing to do to get money. Reckful.
I will see you guys either tomorrow or the next day.
Despite him seeming slightly down, this was the last time Reckful went live. Byron Burstein, or better known as Reckful, was a YouTuber/esports player and a streamer famous for his knowledge on several games, be it World of Warcraft or even Hearthstone. Despite the ups and downs on his life, one thing remained with him that would tragically take his life: his struggle with depression. Byron grew up in Los Angeles with his dad, mom, and two older brothers, Guy and Gary. Sadly, when Byron was just 6 years old, his older brother, Guy, took his own life, leaving him with an everlasting mental scar. He suffered from bullying in elementary school, and in high school, his life revolved around playing video games, one of which he was so good at that he joined an esports team for 2 years called Complexity Gaming, with his compilations getting attention from a lot of fans of the team, who eventually supported him when he left and started streaming on Twitch. I will not go in depth about his Twitch career, since it has a lot to cover. On December 3rd of 2019, he started a series where he would talk with Dr. Kanogia, a YouTuber and a psychologist known for helping other streamers. In these 5 episodes, Reckful would go in depth about his various struggles. It seemed effective, because he, for the first time, was not depressed in 16 years. But sadly, everything began to decline in March 2020, and the worst was yet to come. On July 2nd of 2020, he would make a stream where he would end it seeming kinda low, and that same stream would end up becoming more haunting due to him taking his own life. However, on that same day, before he went live, he made 4 posts on Twitter. I feel bad for anyone who has to deal with my insanity. Please, just know in these situations the insane person does not feel in control of their actions. I know I will always be a little too crazy, but at least you will never be bored. Will you marry me, Becca? After the news, a lot of people started to theorize about the reason of his decision, with some of them pointing at the posts on Twitter. Sadly, the depression got the best of him. I cannot stress enough how important it is for these people to know that they're not alone, you're loved, and you matter. Joyce Echaquan. Joyce Echaquan was an Atimakek woman and a mother of 7 who lived in Quebec, in Canada. As she suffered from a heart complication, Joyce had to frequently visit the hospital, Joliet. However, previous experiences and rumors about how indigenous patients were treated made Joyce livestream the interactions with the staff, who were not that friendly. One of Joyce's cousins stated, "She always said they never did anything. They just made sure she wasn't hurting, and she said the nurses seemed fed up with her." With this, Joyce, in the last incident, ended up going to another hospital, the Centre Hospitalier de la Nature, on September 26th of 2020, where there, Joyce had been admitted for having stomach pain. From here, the details start to get weird. There, Joyce allegedly asks to be restrained for a reason that we do not know, which even the coroner calls the allegation absurd. Joyce was allergic to morphine, but they still give it anyway. 2 days later, Joyce broadcasts on Facebook for 7 minutes. On the stream, the nurses assume that she was just a drug addict who was suffering from withdrawals, and they insult her in French while Joyce screams in pain. And that same day, Joyce dies. The real cause being a pulmonary edema. With this incident, investigations took place in the hospital, in which 2 of the 3 nurses ended up being fired, and several protests ended up taking place to draw attention to the constant problem of systematic racism within Canadian hospitals. Inquisitor. This is where things get dark. I reinforce that from here, this is not for the faint of heart. Inquisitor will be remembered for his content, and sadly, will also be remembered as a reminder of what false accusations can do to someone's life. Vincent Plicky, or better known as Inquisitor Ghost on TikTok, was an Italian man who loved cosplaying as Ghost from Call of Duty. His content was based around him being himself and having fun with his cosplay and lightsaber. As he grew in popularity, he started taking his content more seriously, to the point of having an editor called AJ, who was 17 at the time, who later cropped and used the Discord messages out of context to accuse him of being a predator. The messages out of context made it questionable, but in context, it was simply a way of showing his happiness towards AJ's work. It sadly got worse. It reached a point where AJ created a new account to make advances on Vincent to gather more proof of him being a which Inquisitor refused her advances and even said that he wasn't interested. And with that, AJ accuses him of being a in his Discord. And eventually more TikTok cosplayers jumped in and spreaded the false allegations. Obviously, this and the backlash took a huge toll on Vincent's mental health, to the point where he made his last live stream. The stream simply showed a dark room, with the camera pointing at the window. Later, a person starts breaking the window for a few minutes, only to enter and find Vincent unresponsive. The man calls Inquisitor names several times, and the woman outside starts calling the emergency services, and a third man does CPR. But unfortunately, it was too late. After the confirmation of his those involved in the exposed ended up apologizing for what they did, but it doesn't matter. And as a consequence, their accounts later got banned, basically a slap on the wrist. Chicago Livestream. Chicago Livestream refers to a livestream of an incident that happened on Facebook. In this livestream, 4 individuals, 2 females and 2 males, end up a disabled teen. He was kidnapped, bitten, was forced to drink toilet water, etc. The victim's name was never given for privacy reasons. This all happened on December 31st of 2016. The victim's parents let him sleep at a friend's house, him being Jordan Hill, who eventually turned out to be one of the perpetrators. But 2 days had gone, and the family had no sign of their son. So, he was reported missing on January 2nd of 2017. On January 3rd, the 4 culprits, Jordan Hill, this fake Cooper, Brittany, and Tanisha Covington, took the victim to Tanisha and Brittany's sister's apartment, where they ended up him for hours, during which Brittany does a live stream on Facebook. Later that same day, when Jordan Hill was living with the victim, police officer Donnelly ended up seeing the two, and he noticed the victim's condition, whereupon he stopped them. When searching for the victim's name, Donnelly notices that he was filed as missing, and then he takes the victim to the hospital. And the 4 culprits were arrested and later faced jail time and charges. Jacksonville Tournament.
A lot of good games going on.
It's a lot. It's gonna be hard to get them on stream. It's not a lot.
It's not a tough.
This is a laser sight aimed directly at 22-year-old Elijah Clayton, seconds before the disaster. On August 26th of 2018, an NFL game tournament was taking place live on Twitch at Jacksonville Landing with 130 to 115 person spectators. Everything was going well, until after the semifinals, one of the players who went by the name Bread, or Mr. Sliced Bread, ended up losing, and so he leaves. David Katz was a player who participated in a few tournaments, and even won one in 2017. He had mental illnesses such as ODD and dysthymia, which almost certainly influenced his reaction in that tournament, because after losing, he doesn't handshake his opponent and ends up leaving, only to come back later with 2 handguns, in which he starts firing at the crowd, in which in that tragedy, he takes the lives of 2 people, wounds 11, and then takes his own life. The reason behind the incident, although it can be speculated, has not yet been confirmed, and this tragedy caused future tournaments to improve their security measures, since the one in Jacksonville happened because allegedly there was little to no security. Obdulia 2017. Obdulia 2017 refers to an accident that happened on an Instagram livestream. At the time of the livestream, there were 3 people inside the car: Obdulia Sanchez, which was 18 years old, Jacqueline Sanchez, and Manuela Seja, which both were 14. In this livestream, Obdulia Sanchez, the oldest, was driving under the influence of alcohol, while the other 2 teenagers were in the back without seatbelts. When adjusting the camera, the car deviates a bit, and when Obdulia overcorrects the car, she ends up hitting a wire fence and thus causes a gruesome accident. This accident was caught live, and it ended up injuring Manuela and took Jacqueline's life. The worst thing is, the stream doesn't end there, because in the same stream, Obdulia tries to wake up her sister who was on the floor, and when she notices it, she says goodbye to her since she already knew what was coming next. The strangest thing is the way that she reacted, because besides realizing that she was going to be arrested for what happened, she kept showing the stream the body. Probably the alcohol made her not understand 100% of what was happening. As a result of this, Obdulia was charged and sentenced to 6 years in jail. Ronald Merle. This one is well known. Ronald Merle McNutt was a former US soldier who went viral due to him ending his time on Earth live on Facebook. Little is known about his childhood, but Ronald ends up growing and enlists himself in the army, from which he was later deployed in Iraq from 2007 to 2008. As much as other veterans, Ronald ended up developing PTSD and depression. It completely changed his life forever. Even one of his friends, the co-host of their podcast Just As Geeks, stated the following: "He didn't seem to be the same guy that left for Iraq once he exited the service." That, plus his recent breakup and the everlasting wound of his father's passing, took a huge toll on Ronald's mental state, in which it all came boiling down on August 31st of 2020. But he would make one last post before the tragedy on his livestream. At 9 PM on that same day, Ronald would start a livestream where he was drunk and at his side was a gun. On his stream, he was being bombarded with calls from family members and friends who were worried, in which one of them ends up calling the police, who unfortunately were unable to stop him in time. At 10 PM, Ronald has a small discussion with his ex on the phone, in which when it hangs up, he says, "Hey guys, I guess that's it," and you already know the rest. Allegedly, the worst thing is that after the stream, the video stayed up for more than 2 hours, which was more than enough for people to spread this video across the internet. Whole bank. In 2023, in Louisiana, Kentucky, a man who worked at the Whole National Bank ends up committing a inside. At around 8:36 AM, various calls will be made to 911 related to an active by a worker of the same bank called Connor Sturgeon. In that same incident, Connor shots and streams the incident on Instagram before going inside the bank and starts firing at his co-workers that at the time were having a meeting, taking the lives of 5 people and injuring 8. The stream would obviously be taken down quickly, and after a quick response from the police officers, they were able to neutralize the perpetrator, with one of the officers, who was a trainee, getting severely injured in the head. But why? Allegedly, a lot of sources say that Connor was already informed that he would eventually be fired, which could have been the main cause of this tragedy. So much so, that his mom was one of the people who called 911 since before Connor left. He had left a note that said what he planned to do at the bank, but at the time, it was already too late. Los Angeles Freeway. Back in the 90s, it was fairly common for television stations to interrupt broadcasts to show police pursuits for everyone to see, with some of them interrupting cartoons. But with such unpredictable interruptions comes unpredictable actions that traumatized several viewers. The one that I'm talking about is the incident on the Los Angeles Freeway, the interruption that traumatized thousands. On April 30th of 1998, Daniel Victor Jones, a man who lived in California, ended up driving his truck onto a freeway in Los Angeles. There, Daniel begins to execute his plan. He takes his shotgun out of the truck and starts pointing at other drivers, just as a way to terrorize them and attract the attention of the police. When that happened, that specific highway was closed, and news helicopters ended up interrupting normal broadcasts to show the live incident. As part of the plan, Daniel will put a banner on the floor that said, "Health maintenance organizations are in for the money. Live free, love safe, or die." In this standoff, Daniel ends up leaving a satchel that had an important video cassette. We will get there in a minute. While there, Daniel enters and sets his truck on fire, which kills his dog, and leaves him with several skin burns, but he got out of the truck. Moments later, he returns to the truck that was still on fire, takes out his shotgun, and ends his time on Earth. The tape that Daniel had left on the highway is now a lost media, but the tape was a note. In it, Daniel was sitting next to the dog that died with him on that day, as he talked about the fact that he had been diagnosed with HIV and cancer. He also said, "I'm not going to fight the disease. It has affected my neurological system. I'm not going to end up crazy. I'm a dead man." With this being the only info that we have about this lost media, and all of it was captured live, causing some TV stations to apologize to the viewers for what they saw, and those same stations got a lot of backlash. And since you watched this video to the end, what about more real life incidents? I've recently made a new channel where I will post more chill content, or should I say, content that I wouldn't post on the main channel. Thank you so much for watching, and take care, my friend.